Hello, everyone. This is part two of my story. I had decided there's so much information to go on in my life that I figured it'd be better to break it up into parts, be easier for people to understand. So be sure to know that be a part of the solution, child abuse awareness, instead of part of the problem. Welcome to Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark. Shattered Innocence Revised is the third book that I have now. It's at Amazon. Don't forget to like and subscribe and to share. Remember to speak up against child abuse. Thank you for watching. Please hit the bell icon to be notified. And please hit the thumbs up as well. Make sure that I put up the trigger warning because this will be hard for some people to listen up. Hi there, Eric. Good to see you. Hello, everybody at Facebook that's listening as well. I'm sorry at Facebook, I do not get the messages, all the messages here at StreamYard for some reason. It says can't post comments to some destinations. So I'm trying to respond to y'all the best I can. Please forgive me. My sinuses are acting up a little bit. So, I want to excuse me. I want to go back over some of the parts about my dad dying. He left for work at the end of November. It's Daddy Charles. A few days later, around midnight, the phone rang. Sue came and woke us up, stating, "Get up! Your dad's dead." We all got up and went to the kitchen. I was watching Sue. I already knew God was dead. Dad was dead. The reason why I say that and that I already knew Dad was dead, because she woke me up from a dream, and I was dreaming about Dad dying at the moment prior to her waking me up. I saw um, somebody going, uh, Daddy up there on the high scaffolding. I seen he just had a couple safety belts. He's supposed to have been furnished with 8 different safety belts, and he didn't have the adequate amount. When he was going around a certain area, somebody pushed a button or something, and that air blew him over the side, and it knocked a big gash out of the back of his head. So that I felt like, in a way, that was justice for God at times, because how he would knock me in the head and knock me out, such as that. It's kind of weird. And then when it knocked the big gash out, then he was dangling, and the scaffolding cut the rope, and so he fell the 180 feet or 280 feet. It was at a Union Hill Union Camp paper mill in Prattville, Alabama. So when he fell, I know that he landed on the bars down below, and it broke every bone in his body, and then he landed in acid. A lot of that kind of was weird, because of the fact how doctors have said the majority of my bones have been broken or fractured, and how they did mess with me with battery acid before. Like, okay, okay. So after she said all that, like, I knew he's dead because I just got there dreaming it, right? She started cursing and hitting the wall. She had her back turned, but she did not know that I saw part of her facial expressions, since I was actually up closer to her front. With there so many kids up there, I was at the front of the thing where I could see, her facial part, because she turned around partly away from the telephone. Then she let out a big laugh. She was smiling. "We don't have to go to church anymore. We can do as we please. I can be mean to you again. I won't have to put up with the nonsense of God and the church." I was very confused. I did not let anyone know about this. I held it in. When people came over, she put up a big front. Dad's dad embarrassed me tremendously. He was smacking the women from church on their backsides when they walked by him. I felt sick to my stomach. Aunt Lottie and Aunt Zelda took Marlene and me home with them. We spent the night at Aunt Lottie's house. I sat there in shock and disbelief. I thought it would be different. I thought it was weird that 2 weeks before Dad died due to the accident at work, Sue and he picked out caskets, bought the burial place, and even took out a life insurance policy on him. I was lying in bed, and I was remembered she also was the secretary of where my daddy worked as well. And I remember at the funeral, this coworker that worked with Dad that night, my stepmom gave him a big wad of cash in that little room. Nobody came in there where the caskets were. It was just him, me, and her. And I seen that big wad of cash being exchanged. And then he was Dad's best friend, and we used to go over there to his family's house quite a bit. Then all of a sudden, after the funeral and after this, we no longer saw the family or heard from them after she gave him money. I thought that was kind of weird as well. It felt too much. I always wondered what the big secret was that he wanted to tell me. Aunt Lottie came into the bedroom. She said, "Would you both want something to drink?" I said, "Please." Marlene said, "Yes." Then gulped and said, "Please." But she realized I said it. I made it a point to say, "Please, thank you, yes, ma'am, and yes, sir." It was easy to do. Respect was a part of me. Aunt Lottie, Marlene, and I went into the kitchen, but it was quiet. Aunt Lottie's husband was sleeping because he worked long hours as a security guard. She asked if we were hungry. Marlene was, but I said I was not because I was thinking of our uncle asleep. I was worried cooking might be noisy and wake him or keep him awake. And Lottie said, "I know what you want, Darlene. You want a Bible?" I said, "Yes, please." It always helped me during times. Put in mind, I was just 14 years old, okay? It always helped me during times of trouble to read the Bible. My aunt knew I loved reading the Bible. I was always interested in learning more. She asked us what we wanted to read. Marlene opened the Bible and wanted to read about Lot and Lot's wife. I just wanted the Bible to open up and read from there. I just wanted comfort. Opened the Bible and read the page where it had opened. It spoke of death and dying. My aunt started crying. She called me blessed. She asked me to explain what I just read. Marlene wanted to answer, and I let her. She just stated the rough draft of it. I had a lot more to say. I went on and on explaining those verses. My aunt kept crying and said that I had a call and to preach. I got up and I said, "That's okay. You are special and important to me." We usually had to go to Aunt Zelda's house because Aunt Lottie's husband would be sleeping since he worked the second shift and sometimes the third shift. She told me she wondered how we felt about her. I said, "I have always felt a bond with you. I love you. You have never accused me of anything, nor mistreated me. I was grateful for this time with you, so I may get to know you better." Sue would always tell me that I could not get to see you. She always said that seeing me bothered you. Aunt Lottie replied, "Oh, no, child, never." She started crying and shaking as she thought I never wanted to see her, and that was why I did not come to visit her. Now she knew the truth. She knew I kept trying to go a couple of houses down to see her, but Sue had stopped me on numerous occasions. We hugged. Aunt Lottie knew I was not dumb. I was just quiet. She said, "I thought you were being abused. However, I never knew for sure. I know that you're not dumb. You have a purpose. You are here to help others." Was there any, hold on a minute, let me finish this part. "You are there to here to help others." I said, "That's okay. I love doing that. Would it be okay if we lay down?" I was not tired. I said it because I knew she needed sleep as well. It was about 4 a.m. From then on, any time my aunt saw me, she let out the special wink to remind me of our secret and to keep my chin up. Was there any severance pay from his job since he had an accident? Well, she did a lawsuit against that company, and it took all the way from he died December 1976, and the money came into fruition right before my 18th birthday. from um, from that paper mill. She didn't sue Dow itself. She sued the paper mill, but they didn't give them the adequate safety equipment. But she was getting money each month, of course, because widowers benefits. Plus, he was in the military, and uh, so she was getting money that way after he had died. So Sue received insurance money for Dad's accidental death and purchased a home with acreage. That was the insurance money. Okay, this was not the lawsuit. So I'm not sure how much money she got from him dying. But like I said, she took out a life insurance policy on him a couple weeks before he died. They bought the caskets and bought the bought the caskets and stuff and bought for him and her in case they were to die, and then bought. She had a lot of plots that Daddy had bought also for each of us kids. He wanted us to be buried basically kind of like in a mausoleum type of thing. You know what I'm saying? But my stepmom ended up selling that and getting money out of that too. The extra the mausoleum stuff, you know. So the house was roomy and spacious. It was sitting on land 17 plus acres. Soon after moving, I heard a conversation Sue would have with Marlene. This was several over, I guess, over a couple of years. My twin had went to school with me over there when we lived with Sue, and it was so aggravating because our names sounded so similar. And one of my teachers, my twin was making horrible grades, and I was making ABs, okay, A's and B's, and she was making F's. But the social study teacher admitted that she ended up putting my twin sister's grade on my report card and putting my twin sister gave my twin sister my passing grade, but she refused to change the grade. So then I had to take the class again, and she did it again, like she had some kind of vendetta against me or something, right? So then I had to end up going to summer school to do it. No, I didn't get any kind of money from him abusing me in any which way. She was abusing me as well, see? So there wasn't no way that I was. But however, Eric, when I turned 18, when October that year, the deal was about to come through the settlement. Um, then I was able. That's I guess that's why they wanted rid of me, which I'll get more into in a few minutes on that discussion. Okay, so a couple years have passed, and Sue, my stepmom, said, "Marlene, you're not loved or wanted. That's my twin sister. Okay, you need to move back with your mom, Hilda." So Charles Jr. was convinced to join the military. When he got out of the army, he moved back home with the mom Hilda. But see, Charles Jr. was in the military. Then he ran away, went AWOL, and then Sue took him back up there because to face the repercussions of him going AWOL. So now he ended up with a dishonorable discharge, and she told him to go back. He wasn't wanted either to go back home. So I'm the only one of my daddy's children with my supposed birth mom that was allowed to stay in that house, and you kind of like wonder why. Why was I allowed? And at the time, I was thinking it's to be their slave, right? I had so much other stuff that was covered up, and, fugues, and like I probably had the shots of MK Ultra. Don't know. I just got so many splotches of memory. I just don't know. Charles Jr. was convinced to join the military, like I said, and I was the only one left out of Dad and Hilda's children living with Sue, Bart, May, Dwayne, and I Dwayne was now in the sixth grade. Bart quit school, as did Maze. Dwayne played baseball, and I would usually watch over him. One evening, Dwayne came into my bedroom frightened. He was white as a sheet. He said, "I'm scared. I just saw Mom and Bart having sex." I thought, oh no. But it wasn't surprising to me. I had to comfort him now. I asked him, "How do you know they were having sex?" "I knew most sixth graders mistook kissing for sex." He replied, "They were both naked." I replied, "Okay." He further stated, "I'm afraid she might try to have sex with me when I grow older." So I just had to hold him and comfort him. And that kind of hurt me bad knowing that she was doing this. This was with her own birth son, okay? She was having sex with her own birth son. And then I said, she was not as mean to me as she was before, but her violence began again. May and I had a chore list Sue wrote out for us daily. May did not go to school, so she had an entire day to do her portions. To my dismay, she did none. I would get off the bus approximately 30 minutes before Sue came home from work. There was not much time to do the chores. All six beds unmade, both bathrooms were filthy, dusting and vacuuming needed to be done. The dishes needed to be washed and put up. The floors needed to be swept and mopped. Sue came home enraged. They always got away with not cleaning by telling Sue that she instructed me to do her chores as well as mine. I got my butt bruised severely. I thought it was an injustice for Sue to reprimand me for not doing May's work. It was tough enough to get my chores completed before Sue got home. All the chores were now my responsibility. It was impossible to have the clothes washed, dried, and put up within 30 minutes, much less the entire house. It was tough, even washing all the sheets on all the beds and having the beds made up. It takes longer than that to get them washed, dried, you know, before I could even put up. So that was an impossible chore. You could not have all that done in 30 minutes. Later, May had a son. It grew harder on me because now I had to take care of her child when I got home. I did not have time to do my homework. I started failing school because of being unable to study. This was in I guess, 10th and 11th grade. She forbade me to go to church. Religion was very important to me. Well, my religious belief, my spirituality, really, I want to say now, not really religion. I would sneak out of the house to attend church services, but I knew there would be repercussions. I did not care. I thought about how other Christians were tortured because of their religious beliefs. It soon took a toll on me. I stopped going because the beatings wore my 15-year-old body down. Later, Sue allowed my half brother to go to church. Sue told me to go with him so I could keep an eye on him. One time I decided to test Sue. I began to do some things, such as drinking. I would get wine and beer from the refrigerator. I went and drank it in front of her. I could not believe it. We got along great if I was behaving badly. Soon I stopped being, because I was just testing her, but I kept getting in trouble because the more I tried to be good, the worse things became. Hi there, Tammy. Good to see you. At times I'd be washing dishes. Suddenly I felt a sharp pain on my buttocks. Sue had kicked me as she bellowed, "Get that expletive chip off your shoulder." When I smiled, Sue would kick me and yell, "Get that expletive eating grin off your face." Things escalated. I was sitting on the couch near Sue, and I had to go to the bathroom. Before I stood up and headed to the bathroom, Sue ordered, "Sit back down. You didn't ask me if you could get up." Here I was, 15-year-old, right? I obeyed her and sat back down. I then asked, "May I please be excused to go to the bathroom?" She said, "Yes." I stood again and headed towards the bathroom. Sue instructed me to sit back down. She replied, "You forgot to ask which foot I wanted you to start walking on." I felt dumbfounded as I sat back down. I asked, "Which foot do you want me to start walking on?" As I walked to the bathroom. She told me which foot, and then permitted me to go to the bathroom. I had to ask again, "May I please go to the bathroom?" After I asked about that foot thing, because if I didn't ask again, she would say, "Sit back down. You forgot to ask again if you could go to a bathroom." I said, "Thank you." I smiled at her to think I was okay with it. I knew I'd better not to have an upset expression, or she would order me to my room, make me undress, and bend over the bed as she belted me all over my body. She even used the belt buckle. She didn't care. Every Sunday, we started going out to eat at a steak restaurant. When we got home 2 Sundays in a row, I had to go to my room and strip so she could give me my punishment. Sue was cursing me as she belted me, exclaimed, "People came up to me and told me I shouldn't take anyone as ugly as you into a public place. Your looks made people lose their appetites." So Sue asked me weekly to go eat with them, but I started saying I was not hungry. I stayed home, although I was famished. Christmas mornings were different. But let me tell you about too. I stayed some of the time when I stayed home, and I would look out one of the front bedroom windows, and that's when I saw that blue gremlin of the that sex trafficker Helen that we'll discuss later. Okay, and I didn't know who that guy was or put two and two together or anything because I had such a block of memories. That's why a lot of times it don't pay to have, these shut out memories, these blockages or something like that, because you might invite somebody back into your life that you don't really want back into your life or anything. But something just made me not go to the door or go out there because normally I would go out there, with somebody coming up the driveway. Normally that's what you do. But no, something was telling me, don't go out there, don't go out there. I listened to that voice and I didn't go out there. Thank God. Because this was a predator that was kidnapping kids and murdering kids over there in Atlanta, Georgia, which we'll get into later on, okay? Take a deep breath there. Do y'all remember when I talked about my cousin Steve Normandy that did that game that swung me between his legs back at my aunt and uncle's house? And then he pulled me into the house to do what he wanted, and he finally let me go when my parents were and said, "You better get out here right now." So he finally let me go before, thank God, nothing happened. But he appeared again. I put age 15 in the topic, but it says I was 14 years old at this time. I was in the backyard hanging clothes on the clothesline. I looked out the corner of my eye and noticed Steve standing there. He ogled me as I hung clothes. It was an eerie feeling. I did not tell him I was home alone. Steve pranced to me as he acted playfully. I knew not to act playfully with him ever. I hung the last towel on the line as he proclaimed, "Let's finish what we started." I asked, "Finish what?" He grabbed my arm. This time I was stronger. I jerked away and Hurley ran into the house. I made sure all the doors were locked. He knocked and I yelled, "Leave me alone! I don't want you bothering me." He came a few other times and tried, but it didn't work out to his liking. He finally stopped coming over. Yeah, they call it shock treatments. Yeah. Because, yes, I can remember at times coming back and I would just be in the middle of the kitchen floor and then it was like nothingness. It's like I did not think of nothing. All I could see was the room, and I just light, and then I could just also go back into like a light type of thing. But I could feel the buzzing sensation still in my head. The shock thing. It's kind of scary and creepy. Uncle Charles's attack. Aunt Lottie and Aunt Zelda came to our house. They decided to take Marlene and me home with them. I was always nervous about Uncle Charles, but I didn't know why. He decided to go to his rental house. I was curious about how it looked since we had lived there. See, I couldn't even remember how it looked. I don't remember a lot of places where we lived. I remember we lived in that house, but I couldn't remember nothing about nothing, nothing at all. And there was a side door to it, and I went to the side door, just to gaze in, and that happened to be a bathroom. So I walked in on Uncle Charles using the bathroom, and he tried to grab me and pull me into the bathroom. And I got away from him, and I was like, I cannot believe he tried to grab me. I went back to Aunt Zelda's. One day I decided to give Uncle Charles another chance. I was hoping that I wasn't overreacting, so I decided to hug him. Aunt Zelda and May were in the living room watching a show. As Uncle Charles and I hugged, he turned me around with my back facing his front. He began pinching my nipples. I struggled to get away from him. I scurried towards the room Aunt Zelda was in. With Uncle Charles having two wooden legs, it was hard for him to catch me. I made it to the doorway when one of Uncle Charles's legs ran into the china cabinet. Bam! I froze. Aunt Zelda and May looked up. I felt white as a sheet. Aunt Zelda exclaimed, Charles, are you trying to mess with Darlene again? I could not believe my ears. Now I understood why I was so fearful of him. I would never let Uncle Charles get that close to me again. Then my stepmom, she had a best friend that she hung around with in Daytona, Florida, and her husband. They had two children, and then one of the sons came over there, and he brought his Dublin Pinscher dog. I call him Hulk, and I'm naming this guy Arnold. Well, he showed me how bad his dog would do, and my brother, he climbed on the doorknob to avoid him. Arnold grabbed him before Hulk snapped at him again. Arnold was showing me that I better do as he told me or else, because he was telling the dog to attack my brother, right? And so my brother was, got on the doorknob and then he got on top of the door, but that dog still kept trying to get at him. Another time he was showing me was when Arnold taught Hulk how to grip in my presence. Arnold took me outside to a tree limb. Before this incident, he pulled part of the limb down in order to grip. His dog sank his teeth tightly into the limb. Arnold let go, but Hulk still held on. He held a grip for about what seemed like about 30 minutes. Finally, Arnold went under him and said, "Drop." The dog let go, and the limb fell and he fell into Arnold's arms. I don't know. It's got a misprint there, right there. I just noticed it says, and the limb fell into. No, the dog fell into Arnold's arms. I wonder why he showed me what Hulk could do until I found out regrettably one night after coming home from a date with Jeff. Jeff's my future husband, okay? I walked inside, seeing Arnold sitting on the couch. I was a few steps in when he ordered me to go to my room and change into some shorts. I said, I'm going to bed. He ordered, do as I told you. Your mom, Sue, is in on it. I don't know for sure. I didn't know for sure, and I knew no one cared, but I felt I had to do as I was told before he ordered this dog to attack me. We went outside below Sue's bedroom window. As he was raping me, I saw Sue smiling as she gaped from her bedroom window. I was thinking, oh my God, please help me. Sue is in on this. After Arnold finished, he went to the grapevines and pulled a leaf off to clean himself. I wasn't allowed to go in until he said I could. I thought, I hope you get a rash from that grape leaf. He went back home to Florida within a month. Sue's friend Polly told me Sue made him go home because she was afraid he might rape me. I thought, yeah, right. She knew it already happened. What a lie. The last I heard about Arnold, he was serving time in Florida for rape. Has anybody got any questions so far? And here comes the discussion. It had been a tough time. I had turned 18 about a week before. I was now considered an adult, but I was still in high school. I mainly focused on finishing high school and developing my religious beliefs. I could receive the checks for Dad's death now on my own since I turned 18, right? We had a pending lawsuit since Dad died at work. Dad had been dead several years when the case was almost settled. I was in my bedroom. I decided to go get something to drink. I was walking from the added on part of the house to the older section when I heard Sue and her two older kids discussing what to do with me. Something made me hide and listen. I knew there were three people in the discussion, Sue, Bart, and May. It went like this, although I cannot remember which one said what because it shocked me. Well, what will we do with her? We could put her in an institution. They would believe she was crazy. But what if they believe her stories? we would be in serious trouble. So what are we going to do? We got to get rid of her soon. Well, well, we could kill her and make it look like suicide. They will believe she committed suicide. When did we do this? This weekend. I did not know if they had heard me walking in front of the house and said it just to scare me, but I sincerely believe them. I had to find a way out. The bedroom door creaked as I faintly fell against it in disbelief. I couldn't fathom what I was hearing. My stepmom, Sue, and two of her children, Bart and May, were discussing ways of getting rid of me. They were talking about killing me and making it look like suicide. What did I do so wrong to get them to hate me so much? I mean, I was already their slave, their robot, without my own thoughts or feelings. I did think about God often. They couldn't take that away from me. Uh-oh. Bart must have heard the door creak when I fell against it. He said, "Everyone quiet. I hear Darlene coming from her room." I drew in a deep breath as I silently prayed, "Lord, please let them think I did not hear them. Please keep me safe." I stepped back quietly from the door, 2 steps back, and proceeded to walk normally down the hallway. I glanced at the three of them as I turned to the right to go into the kitchen utility room. They were sitting quietly, watching me as I went into the kitchen. I knew I had to pretend I didn't hear the conversation. Shh! I made it safely for the moment. They had no clue that I had overheard their conversation about killing me and making it look like suicide. I bent over to let out some air. I was dumbfounded. I realized I better stand up straight. If they came into the kitchen and saw me bent over like that, the cat would be out of the bag. I decided that I would start exercising. I breathed in a deep breath and began doing toe touches. I thought right hand touching left foot while the left hand in the air, then reverse. I did a set of 10. I was thirsty and remembered why I first come to the kitchen before I was caught off guard. As I bent down to grab a drink, I noticed Sue coming into the kitchen. She had her hands on her hips and said, "Are you okay?" And here I got this this is my thoughts right here. Okay? This puzzled me. Asking if I was okay? Yet a few minutes prior, they spoke of eradicating me. However, I had to keep up the charade. I stood up with my beverage and answered, "Yes, ma'am." She stated, "I heard you breathing hard, so I came to check on you." "Yes, ma'am. I just exercised." She said, "But you weren't breathing like that when you went to the kitchen." "No, ma'am. I was exercising. I did toe touches in here." Sue asked, "Did you hear our conversation a few minutes ago?" I hated a lie, but I had to save myself. "No, ma'am. Were you all talking? I just saw you all sitting there quietly." "Okay," she concluded. I asked, "Was there anything I should have heard or should know, Mom?" Sue replied, "No, everything is fine." She turned and went back to the living room. I prayed silently again, asking God to guide and protect me. "Please lead me in the direction you want me to take." Jeffrey came to see me that afternoon. I confided in him about what I overheard. Okay, so needless to say, I ended up. We decided I was going to skip school Friday, and he was going to not go to work, and so we decided to go get a marriage license and get married before that Saturday to get me out of that. So a lot of people, I thought I would grow to love him. You know, he was what I thought was a Christian guy. You know, he even went to the same type of church I went to. So I thought that, I thought we were like minded in some ways, right? And he even protected me at one time from my stepbrother. By the time we got back from, um, let's see, what's that, Opperland? By the time we got back from Opperland, me, my boyfriend, and his mom and his brother, and I was wearing an Opperland shirt, and he was tearing my shirt off when I got back home. My stepbrother was, Mark, and my brother, and then my boyfriend told him, "Stop doing that. Don't do that to her." So he was actually defending me, right? So my brother picked him up and put him on the counter just by his shirt, just going like this and just picking him up. He was that strong, and he picked him up. But I found out later that he was on Quaaludes and some other drugs and all that. So the drugs really made him strong. Y'all, please don't ever mess with drugs like that. So after we went ahead and got married, we had to go ahead and live with his mom and his handicapped brother. But every day after got married, my stepmom would still call me every day, hassling me. And I had told my mother-in-law, please don't call me to come down there and answer the phone. Please don't. I don't want to talk to her, right? So she would still say, hey, uh, telephone, here's how the phone conversation normally would go. Hello? Hello, Darlene, you better not quit school. Mom, I have no intention of quitting school. You better not, or your expletive is grass and I am the lawnmower. Then Sue hung up the phone. This went on daily, the same conversation, the same threats. It was getting to me. It was causing me undue stress, plus the fact I constantly had to come downstairs just to hear all this. Soon I was taking medication for stress and my stomach pains. It was tough not being able to wash my clothes since my mother-in-law took over all that. I preferred washing my own garments, but she refused to let me use her washer and dryer. She hated me even wearing like a one-piece bathing suit if we went to go to swimming at the creek and it just be me and my husband. So when it came dirty and it was in the dirty clothes, she ended up cutting the straps off of it. She said that's improper to wear a one piece bathing suit. So she cut it. Joanne was apparently suffering from some kind of disorder she had as a child, which required her to be quarantined. They had all the windows and doors of her home taped off so no one could go in or out. That was my mother in law when she was a kid. When her sister got out of school, she couldn't even come home. Luckily, another family was around and she moved out. Um, and so she could go stay with them. I mean, so and then I go back to school because I'm missing so much school because I have to go back and forth to the doctor being so sick. And then I made a mistake going to the doctor that I used to go to when I was with my stepmom. I did not know that that doctor was calling my stepmom at her job and saying she's at the doctor's office. And then my mom went and was calling the school saying she's not at the doctor's office just to get me in trouble now, y'all. And yet I should have took the receipt or something like that from the doctor's office, but I didn't. I didn't even think I would need it. I had the prescription in my hand from the doctor, which I thought that would be sufficient to show. Um, and so I got back to school, and the principal stopped me in the hallway. He said, if you go to the doctor one more time, we will not let you graduate. I asked him, what if I get caught up? He said, no. I knew I needed to continue going to the doctor, so I decided to turn in my books the following day, and I quit school. So I ended up quitting school. And then when we lived at home with his mom, he had his brother. When we lived upstairs, would follow us upstairs, and we didn't have a bedroom door, so me and my husband didn't have any privacy. And so his, there was a bed at the bedroom at near the door. But there was a walking place getting to our room and nothing, but there was another bed in the other room. And so he would follow us upstairs and he would lay on the bed and wait till us fall asleep to make sure we didn't do nothing. And then he would go down after we fell asleep and then he'd go to bed. And I hated all that being watched all night. You know what I'm saying? And then later on, when I became pregnant and stuff, uh, well, there was how he got his brother to stop because one day he told his brother to stop, and then his brother went and got a shotgun. I think it was a 410, and he pointed it at my husband. And I started walking down the stairs a little bit slowly, but basically guns, y'all know that because my dad. And so I wasn't as afraid, and I felt like he would give me the gun. So I convinced him, and I got the gun from him. And then my husband, and there became a chase, and it was really bad. The stepbrother was throwing chairs around at my husband and chairs at me and everything because he's mad because we wouldn't let him upstairs for the privacy and stuff. stuff. Anyway, so we ended up after I was pregnant, we moved to Huntsville, Alabama, and that's when I ended up getting the check from my daddy's thing. And it was kind of crazy because my stepmom, before the money came in, um, you get these registered letters that you're supposed to sign off for. She would knock on the door and say, here's the thing. I went ahead and told the mail carrier I was you. And she had opened up the envelopes and tore off the top page. And I was like telling my husband, hey, this is against the law for her to do this. It's supposed to be coming to me. He said, don't worry about it. She said she's handling it. I said, no, I want to see the front page of the page that she tore off. I said, she told them that she was me, and they let her sign and put that she was, and so they gave her the mail, which was illegal. That's a fraud. And so she didn't open them up, and then she took the top piece of paper. So whatever instructions I was supposed to do, I didn't get. So I think I ended up forfeiting a lot of my money because of whatever she had done. She kept me from getting a good deal of it. But I had enough where I was able to pay the hospital bill since Blue Cross Blue Shield was not going to be paying for it. So it had to come out of our pocket. So I was able to pay for her son's birth with the hospital bills. And thanks, I was grateful for that, right? So Bart would come over some of the times at the apartment and he would bang on the door. Pregnancy can wear out a body. So I'd be laying down and there and all of a sudden bam, bam, bam. And I was afraid to go answer it. And he opened the door. I gotta go potty. So I don't know why he waited to come to my house to potty because there was restaurants and other things he could have went in down the road. But I think he did it just for the fear of scaring me. I don't know. I was petrified of him. He usually leaves after using the bathroom. I didn't think about my memories. All I knew was the fear of him. When I lived at home, Bart had a lot of anger. He outran the cops. He fought the cops, knocked holes in the wall. I have a scar beside my eye where he hit me so hard. He was wearing his class ring at the time. I remember the blood oozing out. He ordered me not to tell Sue what really happened, saying that I fell and hit my face. But the reason why he got me to lie too, he also did that to my younger brother, and which was his half brother, my half brother, because it's my daddy and my stepmom's. And he had the same scar on the same side of his face. So we were to tell her both of us tried to move the freezer and we hit our faces on the deep freezer. How crazy is that, right? And then there was a neighbor's emergency. I really feel bad about this. See how gullible we can be at times, right? So we had an air conditioner in our tiny one-bedroom apartment. It was difficult being pregnant and not cool enough. We didn't have a home phone at this time. Each morning after Jeffrey left for work, I chained the front door. One day someone knocked on the door. I locked it but kept the chain on. I hid behind the door, peering through the slightly open gap. I didn't want anyone to see what I was wearing. To stay cool, I had on shorts and a halter top. I asked hello. A neighbor said, I have an emergency. My 3-year-old son is at my apartment, and I need someone to watch him while I go to an emergency. I replied, I can watch him here. He answered, no, he knows my place better. I said, just let me change my clothes real quick, and I'll be right over. The neighbor urgently replied, no, I don't have the time for you to change. Reluctantly, I closed the door and unlocked the chain. I took a deep breath as I went next door. I didn't like wearing shorts or halter tops in public or in front of others. He opened the door and said, have a seat. As he pointed to the couch, I sat down as he went into the bedroom to grab his keys. I wanted to run, but from experience I knew I couldn't get far. I had 2 lives to take care of, mine and my babies. My neighbor abused me. He came back and sat down, pondering what to do with me. I knew I was thinking to get out safely, I had to think strategically. I asked, was it good for you? He said, yes, was it good for you? I had to lie. Rape is never good. I had to muster the courage to reply, yes, it was. Thank you. May I go now? He nodded. I cautiously went to the door, watching over my shoulder, hoping he wouldn't grab me. I went inside my apartment and waited till he left. I finally got the chance to make a phone call at the nearest payphone. It seemed like a long walk, as each step felt like I was wearing cement shoes. I called my husband. I reported it, and he didn't do a dang thing about it. He didn't care. Anyway, then that neighbor ended up moving out the next day, so that went around. Anybody got any questions? And here's the conversation I had about the certified mail with my evil. I called it meddling line Sue. It was time for the settlement for Daddy Charles's death while on the job to be resolved. Sue had a job and usually worked. I did not understand why she would knock on our door right after the mail ran. I had received a certified registered letter which Sue lied. She waited outside for the mail carrier. She told the mail carrier she was me. She had opened my registered letters and tore off the top page before I ever saw it. I asked, why did you say you were me? She replied, because of the problems you are having with this pregnancy. I am handling it for you. But that is against the law. I'm the only one who was supposed to have received and opened this. It was me. But I handled it. Don't worry about it. It is a major problem. Only I am supposed to deal with my own mail, especially certified and registered. What was the top page you ripped off? Again, Sue stated, I'm handling it. You do not need the problems with your pregnancy. I was wondering what was so bad that she did not want me seeing it. And if it was so bad she waited on the mailman just to deliver it, she lived nowhere close to me. What is it Sue was hiding? Please at least let me see the top page. What was that you tore off? I deal with it. Drop it. And my husband did nothing. I could not believe Jeffrey would not step up and help me. But what is new with that? Not protecting me, not caring, the usual. I found out he was taking it out on me for us moving out of his mom's house. After we had our child, we were to move back in with his mom. I was not looking forward to that. And then there's a part where one of the neighbors kicked my pregnant belly when he walked by me, and I fell to the floor, to the concrete porch. And my husband said, "Well, you shouldn't have touched him with your hairbrush." They kept going by me and everything, and would not say hi. My husband and him, they were ignoring me and everything. And then I touched the hairbrush. Hey, he turned around and he kicked my pregnant belly like it was a football. I fell to the concrete. The guy ran upstairs. I had to pull myself with my arms across the concrete into the apartment, pull myself up on the couch. My husband still just kept going on, fussing at me, but he never did nothing else. And here's about one time. When I was pregnant with my second kid, this one doctor kept coming in. The doctor's associate kept coming in saying, "You can have a DNC. Your child is a waterhead. Go to hospital tomorrow for me to perform a DNC." I said, "I know that a DNC is to remove remaining tissue after a miscarriage. What about my baby? He or she will be is still here. I haven't had a miscarriage." Dr. Jefferson quipped, "I will take the baby when I do the DNC. The DNC will take care of that." I started crying inconsolably and retorted, "Oh, no, you don't. I'm keeping my baby." The answer is no. Said, "You shouldn't care about your baby because it's a waterhead. I will leave for a while while you think about it." I said, "I won't change my mind." Dr. Johnson came back about an hour later. He asked, "What did you decide?" I rapidly replied angrily, "No, I am keeping my child." He stated, "Okay, I'll give you longer to think about it. I'll be back in a little while to let you think about it longer." Then he walked off. This was punishment. I had given my answer. It was as if he wasn't accepting my decision. If I left, insurance wouldn't pay. If I had to wait on him regardless, this was excruciating. I felt my baby would be okay. I wouldn't listen to anyone who wanted to take my child. I felt that this was my final chance to have another child. I wasn't going to give this baby up. I didn't care what he told me. I was keeping him. If I had miscarried, yes, it would have hurt. But to willfully abort, no way. I wouldn't. I couldn't. Dr. Johnson came back into the room. He pulled up a chair next to me and asked, "Will you go admit yourself to the hospital?" I told him, "I gave you my answer." He stood up to walk out. "I give you a little more time here." I said, "I don't need more time." I thought, "You need to let me go home so I can tend to my other child and my husband, Jeffrey." I felt like saying, "I know if I leave without your approval, insurance won't pay for the visit. You won't accept my decision. You keep telling me that I don't shouldn't care about since my baby boy is a waterhead. This is a human being, and I won't let you take him or her without a fight." He finally let me go, so I didn't have to say this. He must have seen the anger in my eyes. I saw Dr. Waters at my regular appointment later on. He validated it wasn't normal to bleed during pregnancies. He said, "It happens again. Come back to the office." It happened several other times. Dr. Waters wasn't there, but Mr. Dr. Jiverson was. Ugh, Dr. Jiverson stated, "You should have let me take your baby." I was infuriated with him, but I still was worried about my baby. I knew something wasn't right, but I refused to listen to Dr. Jiverson's advice. Dr. Waters came back. I stated, "I have been bleeding again. Unfortunately, I had to see Dr. Jiverson since you were on vacation." Dr. Jiverson tried to convince me to let him take my child. Dr. Waters was infuriated about his associate wanting to take my child. He said, "I will leave an emergency number regardless of whether I am on call or not. If you call, I will make sure I get the message. Under no circumstances whatsoever are you to see Dr. Jiverson." I emphatically declared, "Thank God." I hugged him for this. I gave birth to a healthy son. He was not a waterhead. So I am proud to say I did not listen to him and I did not abort my child. God answered my prayer and gave me a healthy child. And yet, this one doctor kept trying to get me to do it. So after this is when knew I had a problem because after a hysterectomy, I was in the hospital for 5 days. Dr. Waters came in my room, and after I was alerted up after surgery, he pulled up a chair as he sat down. He asked, "Have you been sexually abused?" Put in mind, I didn't know a lot of this, okay? A lot of this was hidden, okay? Until I answered yes, but it was a long time ago. I'm okay now. Dr. Waters further asked, "Have you ever had therapy for it?" I told him, "No, I haven't. It's fine. It's all in the past." He stated, "I removed scar tissue for 2 hours. I had to stop when you started bleeding profusely. I have never seen anyone with this amount of internal damage. You had to have been sexually abused a lot. You need to talk about it because of the magnitude of it." It didn't take long for the nightmares to begin. Every time I started drifting off to sleep, I had flashes of the abuses that happened when I was a child. I found out they were called flashbacks. Anxiety set in. I was afraid to step out of the house for fear of being attacked. I was afraid to go into my mailbox. I was panicky when I had to go shopping. My anxiety affected me in many ways. I would watch each yellow line in the middle of the road as I drove. Watching the dots and lines in the road caused severe stomach issues. I had to turn my attention to something else. I focused on turning the radio on and listening to music I enjoyed. It helped me tremendously. When I was in the store, panic mode struck again. I would have to go to the bathroom immediately. At times, I would feel flushed as my heart raced wildly. Everything I saw was spinning. I thought I was going to lose consciousness. I had to find a place to sit down briefly until the weaknesses passed. The feelings, memories, nightmares, and anxiety showed me that I needed to do as Dr. Willer said. I came to realization I need help. So I ended up, Sam Saber was the very first person I started seeing. And there was an elder at church that helped, like, paid $25 per session with him because the church would not pay for. They said that was like something that's not necessary. So as he started seeing me, most of the hours that when I went to see him, and my husband had to take me at the time because I was so scared to even drive anymore. It made it. I mean, I was really doing really bad. All that anxiety and stress and the memories and stuff was just flooding in. Some of it I didn't know what these dark figures that I kept seeing once I tried to lay down the memories and I'd just jump back up. So Mr. Saber decided we would wrestle so I could get out some of the hostilities. He wanted to have my arms pinned to the floor. I yelled in pain. He placed his head on my chest. I yelled, "Get off of me!" Mr. Saber scoffed. An old man needs a rest. I said, "Not on my breast." I kept fighting, trying to get up. His wife heard the noise and knocked on the door, wondered if everything was okay. She heard me scream twice to get off of me. He informed me to be quiet. I was a master at being quiet. Since he did this, I refused to ever wrestle with him again. I felt violated. I told my husband and Mr. Pitcher about this. They both thought it was okay since he told them at the beginning he had to do some unconventional types of therapy on me. So that's why he was allowed to do this, because he said he had to do unconventional therapy. Okay? I felt like I didn't have a choice but to go back to therapy with him. Mr. Saber informed me that I had agoraphobia. I had to go places with him and stay in a car no matter how sick I felt. It helped me to be able to go shopping to restaurants and do errands without having bad panic attacks. Mr. Saber spoke with a local college to let me take the test for my GED. I was shocked at my results. I was always considered dumb, but I found out I got one of the highest grades in the entire state of Alabama. This made me wonder, what if I wasn't hampered in school? Where would I be now? Mr. Saber ended up moving into an office in an old college dorm's room. He would lock the door using a key. It made me nervous being locked there and not being able to leave until he unlocked the door. When he had to go to the bathroom, which was still co-ed style, he unlocked the door. I was made to go in the bathroom with him. He used his stall so I didn't see him. We would have therapy and I would be ready to go. Mr. Saber would force me to sit on his lap. He would ask me what we did in therapy. I would tell him he knew what we did, but he said he wouldn't let me go until we discussed the therapy for the day. I was told no, what I believed happened didn't. I had to stay in his lap until I agreed to say what he says has happened. Mr. Saber wanted to discuss some things I didn't feel comfortable discussing. In one assignment, Mr. Saber told me to go shower with my husband and obey him. He always wanted me to do things, yet my husband was just a receiver. In therapy, he asked if I did what I was told to shower with my husband. I had to give him details of what we did in the shower. I felt that was invading my privacy. He was always disappointed because I didn't do all the sexual things he told me to do with my husband, Jeffrey. I hated being forced to sit on his lap. At times, it was noticeable the wet spot in front of his pants. I hated sitting there. This wasn't therapy. He violated me worse. When I told my husband, Jeffrey, about it, he said, "So?" Mr. Saber decided to begin using hypnosis to get to the root of the problems. Before I went to the office for hypnosis, I decided research on how to be hypnotized, but not fully under someone's control, because I distrusted Mr. Saber. I was skeptic. But Mr. Saber had hypnotized me on several occasions. The last time I saw him, I refused to come back for psychological aid because of his actions. I was wearing a shirt that had three buttons. He clipped the microphone in that area. I went ahead as I was inwardly thinking, if he does anything inappropriate, I will wake up from the hypnotized state. We had been talking for about 5 minutes when I felt his hand right on my left nipple area. The microphone wasn't in that place, nor was his hand on the microphone. I came out of the dazed state saying, "You touched my left bosom." I made sure to not go fully under your hypnotic state. I got up and tried to walk. My walking was unbalanced. Mr. Saber ordered, "Let's sit down and talk about this." I said, "There's nothing to talk about. The truth is you touched me wrong." He said, "I was fixing the microphone." I said, "Your hand was nowhere close to the microphone. You better lock the door and let me out." Mr. Saber said, "Not until we talk." I asked, "Do you want me to scream?" He said, "No, but if the cops come, they will believe me." I said, "Well, they might believe you, but I'll make sure this is known. You have touched me wrongly in different ways from the beginning. This type of behavior is that of a pedophile or rapist. You are a therapist. Therapists are not supposed to do as you did. Plus, you locked me in and refused to let me go. Never again." So Mr. Saber unlocked the door so I could leave. I took a few minutes to get my body to react correctly so I could walk. He kept insisting we talk about it. I walked to my car in a hurried gait. I sat in the car and began to smile. I'm proud of myself for finally sticking up for myself. The earlier benefit of Mr. Saber is he helped me get to the root of the first time I was sexually abused. Unfortunately, I recovered the memory of when my parents, Charles Sr. and Hilda, first told me I was 2 years old. Here's the memory right here. Hilda placed my naked 2 year old body on the kitchen table. I remember it was yellow colored metal with metal rungs around it. Daddy Charles was seated beside a military buddy while they were drinking beer. Daddy's buddy opened the beer bottle with one of the rungs of the table. I can now describe what the 2 year old could not speak nor describe. I remember it was a dark brown beer bottle. Dad's military army buddy's bottle had a chip off of it. Hilda began bellowing orders. Although the table was cold, I knew to do as ordered. Hilda said, "Lay still. Don't move. Don't cry. Don't make any hurtful faces. Lay there and take it. He paid us money to do this." Hilda moved to where my head was to hold my arms. Daddy Charles and the buddy moved to below my feet. Dad stood behind him, while he began sexually abusing me using the chip beer bottle. Dad watched him do this act. None of these adults protected me. I was sex trafficked. Sex trafficking does not mean a person has to be taken away. It can be solicited in person for the purpose of a commercial sex act, in which the commercial sex act is induced by force, fraud, or coercion, or in which the person induced to perform such an act has not attained 18 years of age. The next thing I remember, I was sitting in the bathtub up to my chest, full of water. I was in there alone. I tried to move, but I started to lose my balance. I just sat in the bloody water until someone came and got me. I believe God kept me safe from drowning. Years after my divorce, I was in the bathtub. I kept wondering why my clit area had always been immense, stabbing pain when it was touched. As I lay in the tub, I decided to try to resolve the issue. I was always too embarrassed to tell a doctor. I felt like it was somehow my fault for any of the pains or injuries inflicted upon me as a child. As I was in the tub, it was still had that stabbing sharp pain. So I kept messing around with it and all that, and having to kick the side of the tub at times because of the pain that it was. and out came a sliver of glass. A sliver of glass had embedded in my private area for that long. And then after no longer seeing Sam Saber, I started seeing the preacher at church, and he pushed me on the desk, asked me where I wanted it, and trying to kiss me and stuff. And I ended up getting away and getting to the car, and I never. I went to the church a couple of times, but I stopped going to that church. I stopped going to church entirely after that. Well, until I moved over here, then I tried another church out. Okay. Now here's Dr. Jack Kemp. It took a lot of grueling therapy to get to the root of the sexual abuse. When I began therapy, I already knew prior stories of sexual abuse. It took several therapists until Dr. Kemp became my psychiatrist. He reminded me of Mario from Mario Brothers. He was short in stature. He had that mustache. I had already uncovered some of the shameful family secrets. I caught this because it had been hidden and taboo to speak about. Before beginning my therapy, I began having a lot of flashbacks and nightmares. I was afraid to step out of the house. As Dr. Billy Waters had seen the damage inside my body, it made me worry more. I was afraid to fall asleep because of the nightmares. So I thought at least I might be able to have a peaceful night's sleep without horrendous nightmares. Before becoming a patient, Dr. Jack Kemp's, I had to see other therapists. We don't know about that. Okay, so Jeffrey's insurance began to finally pay, so that's why I was able to go to see him. I asked him, I said, why don't you believe me? He said, because when I ask you a question, you answer right away. A lot of people who answer quickly, their stories don't fit in with what they said prior. Although your story sounds hard to believe, I can tell you're being honest. I was shocked. I could not believe someone finally believed me. Dr. Kemp, rest his soul, he's deceased now. He was God's son. Oh, he began to turn my psychological health around. I still had so many gaps in my memory. With Dr. Kemp, I did not watch a clock. I informed him about my prior therapist, and he wanted me to press charges. I said, but my husband's not going to stand beside me, so I cannot do it. I cannot try to get the charges against him. I need him to stand beside me so that I can, go against him. I said, but if he's against me, I can't do it. So here's where the devastating memory of my son, okay? Okay, y'all ready to hear this? If y'all please put a one. I said, I don't feel so good. May I lay down? Dr. Kemp replied, if you feel like it. I felt faint. Dr. Kemp replied, small breaths. It's okay. Take your time. Suddenly I had a burst of energy with the disbelief of a memory. I jumped up. I stated, oh no, that isn't right. Why? Why? Sorry. I gotta take a breath a minute quick. I sobbed uncontrollably as I described it to Dr. J. Kemp. And now you, my deepest nightmare, my greatest horror. I saw Mama Sue make me lie down on the kitchen floor. I always did as Mama Sue said. I was her robot. I feared her. Sue had a white metal coat hanger for the end of a glass water. I was naked on the kitchen floor, and she was between my legs. I do not remember giving birth, but I remember her handing me a baby boy as I was still lying on the floor. He and I bonded as he wrapped his tiny fingers around my index finger. Sue bent down and took him from my loving arms. I thought, where are you going with my baby? What are you going to do with him? Of course, I said nothing out loud for fear of Sue's retaliation. I watched her back as she walked away. I was so worried about my baby. What is she going to do with him? Mama soon made it to the kitchen counter to the right of the sink. I heard a drawer open, which I knew contained silverware. I did not expect to see what I was seeing. Sue! Mama Sue has a knife! Her arm reached upward in a stabbing position. I saw the knife blade glistening in the light. Oh my God, please help me. No. You know, sometimes this gets to me, sorry. As I watched the knife lower toward my baby, then another blackout. Lord, please help me get through this. Then another blackout. I do not know how I got my frail, weak child's body up or how long it took me to get up, but I made it to the side door by the carport. And y'all can read all this in my book, okay? And plus, I said more than what's in my book. I watched Sue as she held a blue baby blanket and something all bundled up. Is she throwing my baby on the fire after she stabbed him? Why couldn't I protect my baby? I'm such a bad mom. Why didn't I remember this? I just want to die. Dr. Kemp gently asked, Do you have any proof? I said, No. Wait, I sort of do. I'm so baffled. Could this happen? I told Dr. Kemp, excuse me. This is hard, y'all. So I remember when I was pregnant with my first son while married. The nurse said, You had a baby before. What did you do with it? I thought she was crazy. I thought I would remember if I had a baby before. Or so I thought, you know. She even called the police, who referred me to who called the health department to question me. You know, the health department, I was at the health department. That's the doctor's office, you know, where I was at. The police came over there. I told the police I did not have a baby before. I called my husband to come pick me up and tell the police I did not have a baby before. Really, y'all, I did not remember it. Jeffrey left work to come and to get me away from this scene. From the situation, as he didn't know about a baby either. Dr. Jack Kemp replied, There's your proof. A doctor knows if a woman has had a baby before. I won't call the police since there's no birth certificate for him. However, you could go to jail if your stepmom denies it and puts the blame on you. It would be a she said. So that's why I'm not calling the police. The baby won't get any justice. I will name him John Paul Clark after my deceased brother. Why did this happen? Why couldn't I protect my baby? It's all my fault. I want to die. I'm no good. I hate myself. Why? 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 So Dr. Kemp helped me through this horrendous time. It was difficult to deal with. It still is. I've had other therapists, but none compared to Dr. Jack Kemp. Kemp, he was a wonderful man and exceptional psychiatrist. I think that's enough for now. I think I said more than enough. I think I'll leave on that note. Oh, thank you. Hi there, well, I'm going to leave this for now, and I'll talk to y'all later. Thank y'all so much. God bless.